Yeah, what Brad was just saying is super important. I think that if you look at any man who's very good at being a man, most of them have had extremely traumatic lives. Yeah. If you're going to talk about the most brave man you can think of, he's been through trauma. If you think of the best soldier you can think of, he's been through trauma. You think about anything, the man who's going to charge into the burning building, the fireman, he's been through trauma. If you find a man who's never had any traumatic experiences, he's terrible at being a man. He's weak and he's soft and he'll collapse and he's never struggled. I know me, and I don't want to tell a bunch of stories on the internet, but I know all the I went through and all the pain I had to suffer to become the man I am. And every time I meet another guy who has his life in order, it's the same story. This me up, but I thought, okay, I'm going to attack the world anyway. And that's how it goes. So as a man, you're right. You have to be vulnerable. You have to feel it. You have to accept it, but you have to put it in a positive direction. This is what's so dangerous about what we were saying earlier, where people make excuses and externalize because they're taking that trauma and that pain instead of going, I f***ed up. She left me because I wasn't good enough. I'm going to become better. Instead, she is the problem. It's there, and then they lose their ability to go and become something. They lose their own motivational force, and then they sit there with a fucking ego and arrogance and go, I don't need to become any better. I can stay a jackass. It's all her fault. I'll find another one. And then it happens on repeat. And it's a downward cycle of dopamine. My entire life, I've always woken up thinking or feeling like I had an enemy to fight against. As long as I can remember, I've always had. I was a professional chess player when I was a kid. So when I was 4, I woke up and my dad was sitting there saying, you're playing this Chinese kid, he's good. Right? So I always had that. Then I had professional fighting. I had 87 fights. So my whole life I had some fight coming up. And now I wake up and the Matrix is attacking me. So I've always woken up feeling like I had an enemy. Mm-hmm. And that certainly shaped my reality. It definitely shapes how I act. It shapes how I think. I've always felt like I was in war, if that makes sense.
Have you ever felt like you were your own worst enemy?
No, in fact, quite the opposite. I've had a healthy fear and respect for all of my enemies to the point where I've understood the only chance I stand to beat them is to have as many allies as possible, and the most important ally is my own mind. Yeah. I have enough people who dislike me that I don't have the luxury of doubting myself. So even at the height of the cancellation, right, when they were coming at me with everything, and I haven't even told you some of the stuff they come at me with. I'm about to tell you this. It's a lot more scary than anything from Instagram. Sure. When they were coming at me, absolutely. Even the people close to me are going, you're dealing with this well. And I was like, I have now innumerable shadow figures trying to destroy me. If my brain betrays me, I'm really fucked, right? Yeah. Like, I can't go down that path. So no, it's actually completely the utter opposite. I've galvanized myself against internal enemies. Me and every single part of me is all on the same team. And it always will be. And I think that's because, like I said, my whole life I was battling against something and someone else. We live in a very, very hateful world. And I think love comes from a position of strength. I think you always have to be a strong person to love. I think you have to be an intelligent person to love, which is why stupid people are so hateful. And you have to work on yourself. And I think you have to become strong in your body and mind to love things. It's not easy to love things and people when they do you wrong. It's not easy to love a woman again after your last one did whatever. It's not easy to do it. You have to be a strong individual. And that's why I think love comes from strength, which is why I always say strength is so important mentally and physically. I say that all the time. Everything is on purpose. It's all a psyop. It's all a psyop. When they put these models on there, the psyop is you don't have to try. You don't have to try at anything. Don't try. It doesn't matter. Just don't try. Wait for the government. We'll give you some food stamps. You'll be okay. It's
participation trophy.
It's slavery. It's slavery. When you need to do every single thing they say to eat, that's their end goal. That's what they want. It's slavery. They don't want you trying anything. Even going to the gym today is an act of rebellion. Even being in good physical condition is an act of rebellion. If I put up a photo of me and I'm in good physical shape, there are people who write underneath it, oh, you're dumb, you train so they insult you for it. Like, you're a bad person because you have standards for yourself. That's the level of bug man they want to get you to. Of course, these people will give up meat and eat the bugs, live in the pod. Of course they will. They have no standards. They have no self-respect, no standards. Of course they can live in an ugly building, a big, ugly matrix pod. That's all they want.
Is it somebody has to sell you on that? Or is it going back to conditioning? Or what would it be? Is it someone selling you, or is it conditioning?
And it goes back to my original point about the family. I do believe that the reason we didn't have so many problems before is because I believe the families had standards. And some cultures still do. I have friends who are Chinese. My dad, I can't not get an A. That's just their culture. When my dad was still alive and he was teaching chess, my dad would charge $400 or $500 an hour for chess lessons. And towards the end of his life, he goes, all of my students are Chinese or Indian. Nobody else wants to spend money, $500 an hour to teach your kids chess. Only the Chinese and Indians will spend that money to make sure their kid is that good. So that's it. They're the ones who invest the most in their children. They still care on that level. But most families don't wake up and go,
I want my children to act a certain way for the legacy, for the family name as a whole. I'm instilling standards upon them because of the last name. My entire life I've had standards instilled upon me. My entire life. Your last name's Tate, you can't do that. Your last name's Tate, you're not allowed to do that. Your last name's Tate, hit him back. I've been like that my whole life. And now we've removed all standards from everybody. This is why you get school shooters. These school shooters should be too embarrassed to even embarrass their fathers. They should wake up and go, I would never do this to my family. And I'll also, this is definitely going to get me canceled, but I'm going to say it because it's true. I'll say it by extension for suicide. I don't care what you do to me. I'm Andrew Tate. I cannot kill myself. I can't. I'm not allowed. It's against the creed of my last name. I didn't have ancestors who suffered how they suffered, who went through what they went through, for me to be born, to kill myself. That's not the end of my story. I refuse. I absolutely refuse. No matter how bad it gets or what bad situation I'm in, I refuse to do it because I have too much respect for my last name. I won't do it. Your girl left you, you miss her. I get it. We've all been heartbroken. She's with a new guy. You're upset. She doesn't care. You care. I get all of it. But there has to be a point where you get to a level of pride and you just go, that's not who I am. I lost her. That's life. You just got to get on with it. And the best way is to have, where do you find the strength when you're in these difficult situations? I always find the strength from my last name. I'm Andrew Tate. I'm Andrew Tate, so I just have to do it. I'm in a Romanian jail cell. I wake up, there's cockroaches in my bed. They're all over my face. What am I gonna do, cry? Well, am I bitch out? Am I gonna go and sign a piece of paper and say I'm guilty? I'm gonna sell my brother out? Is that what I'm gonna do? Am I gonna go fucking lie and sell the girls out like they want me to? Am I gonna stand up and say I'm sorry for saying go to the gym like a pussy? No, I'm gonna take the cockroaches off my mouth. I'm gonna do some push-ups because I'm Andrew Tate. When shit really gets hard, honor and courage and bravery and your last name is all you've ever had. It's all you're gonna have. And it used to be like that in the olden days. That's why no one did this dumb shit. They were just too embarrassed to even do it. And that's why you're saying, how do we fix the country? Absolutely all of it comes down to the fact that, especially with men, none of them are bestowed with the things that the masculine essence needs to be a good man. You need pride, you need honor, you need a healthy level of ego, you need all of these things. We're taking it all from boys, and what are we giving them instead? Video games, porn, weed. And what do you expect of these people? What do you expect of these shit versions of men besides trash output? You're gonna get garbage of all across the spectrum. Either they're gonna do nothing or they're gonna do something bad. They're certainly not gonna do anything good when they don't try for anything in their lives. How are they gonna do something good? Who owns the future?